Okay, there were some technical issues. I think hopefully we're good now. Okay, let's get started. So how can software development actually make you a better parent? Computer processing speeds double every 18 months, according to Moore's law. It's been 0 days since a new JavaScript framework. Okay, that one might not be completely accurate, but it is a joke that goes around because it is amazingly true. But what changes even faster than technology? Our children. 1 week, bananas are their favorite food, and they eat at least 1, maybe 4 bananas a day. And then they have a meltdown when we run out of bananas. Next time you order twice as many bananas, only to have them not eat a single banana. Maybe that's why banana bread is the most popular item for pandemic baking. Then there's things that they need to learn, like sleeping, potty training. And if you're not past this stage yet, don't worry, this too shall pass. One of my favorite memes out there is the 2 states of every programmer. Either I'm a programming god, or I have no idea what's going on. The successful programmer is one that's internalized the understanding that I've figured things out before, and I will figure them out again. I have 3 children that were born within 3 years of each other, and my husband and I both work full-time. So the important question every year has been, what are we going to do about childcare and school? When they're little, do we do a daycare, nanny, preschool, and for how long? Do we split them up or do we keep them together? Which daycare, which nanny, which preschool? They get to kindergarten. Do we do a traditional or a play-based kindergarten? Things like Montessori or Waldorf. And then we get to elementary school and above. Do we homeschool them? Do we online school? Do we do private school? Do we do public school? And then all the questions within those. The choices are endless. And this decision is hopefully only once a year. There's also the daily decisions, like what do I feed them every single day? We feel like we're stuck in an infinite loop. Okay, I was really excited this year. My youngest was in kindergarten, my oldest is in 3rd grade. And we have a fantastic public school less than a quarter of a mile from our house. School, check. This meant that they could all go to the same school, and our school decisions were made for 3 years. I didn't realize how excited I was about this until COVID hit. And all of a sudden, school decisions are blown wide open again. But we figured it out before, and we'll figure it out again. So why am I here talking to you today? Well, I've been a programmer for 20 years, and I really enjoy it, which is still a little strange to me, since growing up, I always thought that programming is boring. I started out in fine arts and went to the Art Institute of Phoenix for multimedia. While I was there, I got introduced to programming as another form of design. And it changed my whole concept of programming. Instead of a painting where you just hope that they will get something out of it, with programming you can hold their hand and kind of take them through. I love the challenge of a puzzle, and I also love the continuous learning. And to me, that's what programming is all about. On top of being a programmer, I'm also a user group leader, an international speaker, and a conference organizer. Thank you, COVID, once again, for reevaluating all of those. But before I was ever drawn to computers, I was drawn to people and how they work. Since having my own kids, I've had even more of an excuse to dive into not only parenting, but how the brain works and how we learn. Learning is great, but we need to be able to put it into practice. I use what I learn with my own kids, and I also use it in teaching programming to others. I've taught at conferences, users groups, community college, and online at Treehouse for several years. In teaching and talking with so many people, there's something that I heard over and over again. It's how much people struggle with raising kids, or even feeling adequate to have them. They want to do a good job, but they don't even know how. As it turns out, parenting is much like programming. It's the challenge of a puzzle. It's continuous learning, and most importantly, it's holding their hand and guiding them on the way. I grew up as the second oldest of 11. Yes, 11. Same two parents, one at a time, no twins. I was almost 16 when my youngest sister was born, and I loved it. No, I didn't always get along with them, and my life was far from perfect, but growing up in a big family was fantastic. My first plunge into parenting books was actually when my 17-year-old sister came to live with us. I read everything I could about teenagers. But what I learned growing up in a big family is that everyone is different. And yet, we're all the same. I liked helping people and getting involved, so when I was growing up, I was a leader in many of my groups. And after high school, I continued in youth leadership. I love working with kids. They soak up attention without any reservation, and they're voracious learners. That voracious learner, those are programmers too. So if you're ready to take your programming tenacity and apply it to parenting, you're in the right place. This presentation will show you how to defeat meltdowns, 10x your time, and if you stick around to the end, I'll share my #1 secret to raising successful kids. So how do we defeat meltdowns? Well, this is all about managing state, just like in programming. First, we need to manage the physical state. Okay, for me, this really came at a moment in my life where I should have been getting over the craziness of childhood. Like, my youngest was sleeping through the night. I was able to have time for myself again, and yet I found myself yelling and going crazy for no apparent reason. Like, sure, my kids were a little bit annoying, but even I could tell, like, that was a little bit overboard. So finally, I realized that I needed to take control of my own physical meltdowns. And the things that most contribute to your physical state are the things that we all know, but we tend to take them for granted. So what do we do about that? Well, the first thing is sleep. And that means for you as a parent and me as a parent first. Sleep is important. One of the most important things. So what can we do about that? Well, there's a couple of tricks that I've learned in sleeping, especially with having kids. First off, we sleep in 90-minute sleep cycles. This is important because if you've ever had those times where you got extra sleep, but you felt more tired than you did on like half as much sleep, well, that's what happens when you wake up in the middle of a sleep cycle. Now with kids, we can't always control this. Kids may wake us up, but we can do our best to schedule our time in 90-minute cycles. So if I'm going to sleep and I've gone to sleep a little bit late, but I still need to be up at the same time, I might actually cut my sleep down just so that I'm not waking up in the middle of a sleep cycle. So 90-minute sleep cycle, 90 minutes, 3 hours, 4.5 hours, 6 hours, 7.5 is what I try for. And with that, it's nice to add in a little buffer for actually falling asleep and waking up. So if you can plan around that, that should help you. And if you can't get sleep because your kids woke you up or something else woke you up or whatever it is, another good tip to know is naps are really, really useful and not just for babies. Parents can enjoy them too. But here's a tip for parents. If you want to get the best bang for your buck for a nap, have your cup of coffee right before your nap and then a 20-minute power nap. It takes about 20 minutes for the caffeine to kick in, and by that time, you're ready to wake up. And you've got the caffeine, and you've got the rest, and you're ready to go. Now, I wanted to start out with you as a parent, because you as a parent is important. You can't control anything if you can't control yourself. But kids also need sleep. Sleep is really important for children. So what do you do when there's problems with sleep? Helping your children make sure that they get enough sleep, going to bed early, sleeping in if they can, when they don't have to get up for school anyway. You have to be a little bit more aware of what works for your kids as well. But when kids have problems, my middle child was the worst with sleeping because she processes things at night. And so she had night terrors and would wake up in the middle of the night. Almost every night. It was hard. So we actually started directed dreaming. So we would start every night, talk about what do you want to dream about. And kids are actually really good with this. They actually have a lot more control of their dreams than most adults do. So if we could prep early, I was really surprised that at 4 years old, she was able to not only start her own dreams, but actually put herself back to sleep if she did wake up. Because she was able to control what was going on in her dreams. She had a special dream that was Shiver and Shine, the genies. If you've seen that, she liked those, in a flying ship. And she had a magic wand so she could change her dream. Again, she's been my biggest sleep struggle, and with things going on around here, with pandemic craziness, again, sleep's been a little crazy for her. Another tool that I found for her is Mashi sleep stories. They've helped her to sleep. So there are all kinds of things we can find that can help us to make sleep better, but sleep is very important. Next thing is food. If you're hungry, you're not going to be able to control your state well. And neither are your kids. Your kids are not going to be able to handle things if they're hungry. My oldest gets the hangries. If he cannot go between lunch and dinner without having a snack, he is hangry by the time dinner comes around. So we've had to set timers, put it on our schedule to make sure that he actually takes time to eat. Having snacks that they can get by themselves, having drinks that they can get by themselves, helping them to be self-sufficient. Don't expect them to be able to have any sort of control over what's going on when they're hungry. So make sure that they can easily solve that problem. The third physical aspect is schedule. Schedule is so important. Routines, rituals, however you want to call some of these things, there are different types of schedules and they can be good. Now, when I'm talking about schedules, I don't mean that you have to follow a strict schedule where it's down to every 5 minutes like Elon Musk or other crazy people that do things like that. Maybe for you it's time blocking. Another thing is anchoring times. Maybe you have specific meetings that you have to be involved in, or specific actions that need to be done or happen at different times. Scheduling in food, again, those are things that can be very important. It can also be as simple as having your schedule of things that need to be done, but maybe not at specific times. Kids can really like these types of things. My oldest especially needs to know what's going on. He always wants to know what's going on. That's how he can handle things without getting overwhelmed. If your kids are always asking you what they can do, I'm bored, what do I do? Having a schedule can be really helpful. You can also use Kanban for that type of thing as well. If you just have things that you want to accomplish for the day, then using a Kanban board can help them know this is what I have to do within this time period. Which moves us to the next, managing control. Everybody needs control. Everybody wants to feel like they're in control. If I can give my kids a little bit of my time, they can give me a lot of my own time. But we also need to give them control of what that looks like. For parenting, our conditional looks like this. Instead of an if-else, it's a when-then. This is a really good way for kids to know how they can be in control. When you finish your homework, then you can do X. When you complete these tasks, then you can play on your electronic. When, then. Try to avoid telling them no for things. Nobody wants to be told no. We want to be told yes. Yes is great. We want to get to yes. Yes is amazing. And when they can control that yes, if you can say, when you do this, then you can have that, they know what to expect, and they're the ones in control. Next thing is choices. Choices are another bit of control. And kids really thrive on choices. And here's the key. Give them choices that you are happy with, that you can live with. You don't need to give them a million choices. You don't need to give them the choices that they want, but giving them choices. Do you want to wear this shirt or that shirt? Are you going to brush your teeth now, or are you going to brush your teeth after a story? Choices. Choices are important. Would you like to go out with your friends, or would you like to be able to go to the movies tomorrow? These things have to get done. You can go out today, you can go out tomorrow. Those are choices. Giving them choices is really important. Communicating your needs. Again, very important to have everybody on the same page. If your kids know what you need from them, they actually have a chance of being able to support you in that as well. So communicate your needs. Give them choices on how they could help you. When mom feels rested, mom is able to better spend time with you. Mom has these things to get done. If you want to help me with these things, then we can do that. When these things are done, then we can go do that. And there are times that I want to do things too. And there's nothing wrong with letting your family and your children know what it is that you want or need. Another tip for control, have you ever had those tantrums about buying stuff at the store or getting rid of something they may have? Pictures are amazing, and Google Photos are fantastic. So we go to the store and they want something, inevitably. But we've got to the point now where it's just, Mom, can we put this on my wish list? Great. A wish list is amazing because it validates that they can want that I acknowledge you want that, and it gives us great ideas for people to get you something later. But it also teaches them that I may not want that later. Just because I wanted it now doesn't mean I'm going to want it later. And if I take a picture with them and the item, we can go through our Google Photos and sort by person, and they can see all of the things on their wish list and all the pictures of them, because kids love to look at pictures of themselves. You can also use the same thing with artwork, pictures that the kids make for you, and you really can't plaster 5 million pictures on your wall. Something's going to get covered, and that's fine. But another way is to take a picture, and you can have that scroll through on your background or put them wherever or however you want. But it also acknowledges that they gave you something special and you're doing something with it that you can keep it forever, and you can also use it in different places. You can do it, again, old toys as well. This is another great way. Pictures can be fantastic. And it's really easy now with smartphones. So we've managed state by managing our physical, managing control, and finally, what do we do if we need to actually change state? People are having a meltdown. Hopefully not you, because you're getting your sleep, you're managing your own hunger, and you're communicating your needs. But whether it's you or your children, we all have times of meltdown. So what do? How do we change our state? We need to pull ourselves or someone else out of the moment. The first thing we can do is move. This could be exercise, moving, just movement, dancing. You can change your position or change your environment. You could go outside or stand on your head. Going somewhere else, changing the actual physical state that you're in also changes your mental state. Another fantastic way is through music. Music can really help us change our moods, change our feelings, change our state. So use music in a way that's good for you and your children. And finally, memories. I'm talking about gratitude. What can I be thankful for? It's almost impossible to be sad or to be frustrated when you're thinking about what you're actually thankful for. Gratitude is amazing at being able to change our state. Help your kids to be able to understand this as well. What can they be grateful for? How can you reframe what's going on? Or how can you think about something else that you are grateful for, even though we may be having a lot of crazy things going on right now? So to review, to defeat meltdowns and manage your state, you need to manage the physical first. Without the physical, everything else is going to be a lot more challenging. Next, we need to manage the control. Give children control when you can. As much control as you can give them. The more control, the better. But always things that you're comfortable with. And then finally, change the state. If your state is bad, make a change. Take control and do something. Okay, so now, how do we actually 10x our time? I just think it's hilarious. The whole 10x developers, some developers are so much more productive than others. People are so much more productive. Okay, productivity is great. I love productivity. I read about and work on and study how I can be better and more productive. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes people take it a little to the extreme. But I actually do think I can help you with your time. So I would like you to take some of these tips away with you. My first tip for 10xing your time is about multitasking. Multitasking, as we know it, is a lie. But I have for you our multitasking secret number 1. Language and movement are actually separate in your head. You may notice when you are listening to something, like carrying on a conversation with someone, if that's all you're doing, your mind may actually get more distracted than if you have something that your hands are doing at the same time. Now, I'm not saying you should always have a conversation with somebody while you're busy. But I am saying we can do more than one thing at a time. You can listen to a podcast or an audiobook while you're doing activities that don't actually require mental capacities of much use. Things that your body already knows how to do or come naturally. Maybe you're washing dishes or cleaning the house or doing some exercise. These are all great ways where you can listen to something. So, multitask by using some sort of movement and some sort of language. Multitasking secret number 2, do things together. There's a lot of stuff that needs to get done. And we want to spend time with our families. So do them together. Chores are a lot more fun when we're doing them together. Reading can be more fun when we're doing it together. Whatever it is that you're spending time with, you can do it together. Your goal as a parent should be training your children how to become successful adults. And so they need to know what you're doing and be able to do those things as well. They can start off doing a little bit and helping you, and eventually moving into you helping them, and then they'll be able to do it for themselves. So do things together. Make dinner together. Or you can read to them, but you could also just read together on the couch. You read a book, they read a book. Reading is fantastic. If there's something that you want to do, you enjoy, do those things together. Do you enjoy gardening? Go out and garden together. Those can be some great ways to do things together. Maybe there's some ideas that your kids have that they would like to do with you as well. And finally, when you are doing things, be fully present. Don't multitask to the point where you're not present. And don't have important conversations while you're also sorting your mail. Like, give them your full attention too. Being fully present doesn't mean that I can't cook dinner with you, but being fully present means that I'm paying attention to you and we're doing something together. Bust the myth. No one does it all. It doesn't matter what it looks like from the outside. It doesn't matter what you see other people doing or what other people say or how they say it. Nobody does it all. Now, some people may do more than others, but nobody does it all. Once we can accept that, we can move into doing more. So, what actually needs to be done? There are things that need to be done. There are things that don't need to be done. But there are a lot of things that need to be done. So what needs to be done? Then, what do you need to do? What actually requires your time and attention? Is there something that will make you successful today? How would you even know that you had a productive day? Did you accomplish something? What are those 1 to 3 items a day that you need to do? So what do you do with the other things? Yes, you're going to do things that are not the most important things of the day. But take a look. What things can you automate, delegate, or eliminate? Never automate something that can be eliminated. And never delegate something that can be automated or streamlined. If it doesn't need to be done, don't do it. If you don't need to do it, let someone else do it. And if it's something that you can automate, please just automate it. Take those extra 5 minutes or hour with that one thing that you know right now that you've been going, ooh, I could write this little script to do X. Yes. As a programmer, we do those things all the time. We go, ooh, it would be so nice if this would just happen. If you can take a little bit more time now to save yourself time later, do it. And when you do delegate with joy. Don't micromanage what somebody else does. Make sure you've told them and shown them what you need to do, but then let them do it. And be grateful. Finally, for your time, be intentional. What you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while. These are the important things. What to you are important? These may not be tasks. These may be things like, I need to get my exercise in so that my brain is functioning and I don't scream at everyone. It's important that I get my sleep. It's important that I eat in a way that I don't feel gross afterwards. Those things are important. Those little steps that we make every day are what are going to change our lives. Be intentional in your schedule. I talked a little bit about schedule earlier, but schedule is really important. Dwight D. Eisenhower said, I've always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. Yes, our plans may not always work. You may not get everything done that you put on your schedule, and that's okay. If we don't plan, we'll never reach it. The shoot for the moon, and at least you'll land within the stars, that kind of thing. Also, children love expectations. They need to know what's expected of them. Schedules and routines are so important for developing minds. Again, this is so important, especially to my oldest. And he needs a much more strict schedule than my other children may need. And your schedule may look different than my schedule. And again, probably not like Elon Musk. But whatever works for you, make sure you're intentional and you are getting done what is actually important. What works for you and your family? Again, doesn't need to be detailed, or it could be super detailed. What's going to work for you and what's going to work for your family? In creating your schedule, remember, there are 168 hours in a week. Laura Vanderkam has done all kinds of studies about success and time boxing and time management. And she talks about how successful we can be when we look at our lives and our schedules as 168 hours in a week instead of just this day. You don't need to get everything done today. Be creative with your time. What does that look like? Does that look like, hey, I'm doing a little bit more I'm working on Saturday instead of Friday because I have time with my kids on Friday instead of Saturday. That's fine. Hey, I'm working at different hours. A lot of times, especially as developers, our employers will let us do that. What times are going to work for you? Be creative. Use the creativity that you've learned as a programmer and apply it to what your schedule could actually look like. Transitions and rituals. I had a question about this. How do we get through those crazy transitions when someone interrupts us and we have to get back to something? We're in one state of mind and all of a sudden we have some interruption, whether it's from our kids or a coworker, and all of a sudden our focus is ruined. And we are not in the right state of mind to answer them properly. Transitions and rituals are really good to help you with this. They not only help you, but they help other people. So what am I talking about with transitions and rituals? Well, transitions for your kids, give them a warning. Let them know what's going on. In 10 minutes, we're going to do this. In 5 minutes, we're going to do that. Use Alexa to let them know, hey, we're going to set this 5-minute timer, and when the timer goes off, it's time for you to set the table. Transitions for yourself. Give yourself 2 minutes. This can be in anything. When you're transitioning from one thing to another, from a meeting to work, from home to work, from work to home, when you're transitioning between tasks, give yourself just a little bit of time. Take those 2 minutes to breathe and set your intentions for this next interaction. What do I have to do next? What do I want to accomplish for this next piece of time? How do I want to bring myself and my energy to this next interaction, this next focus time, this next time with my family, this next meeting? What are those things that I want to get? Be intentional. Another thing you can do is cues for switching roles. We all, especially now, have multiple roles that we play. We have a parenting role. We have a manager role, whether that's at home or at work. We also have our developer role. We have these roles. And when you give your body and your brain a cue that lets it know which mode to be in, your brain can work a lot more for you in that role. Some cues that you might use are having a morning meeting before your role as an educator with your kids, or having your special drink that you get before you move into your office for work, giving your kids a kiss on the way to your office with your special drink that signifies my start of the day. Maybe even getting dressed in my work clothes so I have that transition. These are different cues that we give not only our children but our brains to let us know what is the next thing that it should be focusing on. Okay, so my tips for 10xing your time: multitasking. Forget what you thought it meant and actually use multitasking in a way that works for you. No one does it all. So figure out what things you can stop doing. Be intentional with your time and your attention. Now, since you've made it all the way here, I have my number one secret for raising successful kids. You ready? My number one secret for raising successful kids is model. Be the adult you want your child to become. Are you telling your child that they can be anything they want, and yet you're not allowing yourself to do the things that you want? Do you feel guilty about spending time on a career and not all of it on your kids? You can't put limits on yourself and yet tell them that they can do whatever they want. Children aren't going to listen to the things you say, but they will listen to the things that they see you do. My oldest is amazing at showing me this. I can do things. For example, we can do this with electronics. How many of you ever struggle with electronics? Spending a little too much time on social media or a game like Fishdom is my new thing. And it's really easy to just veg out and let the electronics take over. And that's not what we want for our kids or for ourselves. So with modeling, I want you to be intentional about what you're showing to your children. Don't just say they can't have it, but show how when something is becoming an issue for me, hey, I'm spending too much time on social media, I'm going to actually take this off of my phone and let your kids know what you're doing. Hey, I've been playing too much Fishdom, and I'm not going to be playing any Fishdom for the next week because I don't want to be addicted to a game. I don't want that to control me. I want to have control. When you show your children what they need to do instead of telling them what they need to do, they have a much better opportunity to actually apply that to their own lives. Same thing with emotions. If you're angry or upset, what do you do about that? How do you handle your own stress or frustrations? Model that for them. Tell them what you're doing in the moment. Talk through it. Say, I'm taking some deep breaths because I'm feeling upset right now and I don't want to yell or snap at someone. I need to go for a little walk before I address this. I'm not ignoring it. I'm taking a break for me to calm down so my brain's ready to adjust and to think creatively. What do you do in the moment? Show them what you're doing. It's really, really crazy how perfectly they can model what you do. From the tone you use to the words you use. They will be using those same words in handling things themselves. So, my big takeaway for raising successful kids with electronics, with emotions, model. Model, model. Model how you want your children to experience life. Before we get into questions, I want to let people know what the next steps are. As with technology, you can't possibly learn everything there is to know all at once. And even if you could, technology and children are constantly changing. So, I'm putting together a solution for parents geared specifically for software developers to give you the most effective results possible. you'll be able to implement the systems right away by using the provided templates for taming screen time, getting your kids to listen, building a schedule, and more. We'll also have an e-newsletter timed for your child's age. This will help you understand your child and why they do certain things at certain times, what they're learning when they're doing those things, and what you can do to help them develop. Building off my experience as a content creator, the course is going to take you in depth into modules such as expectations, community, and of course modeling, and more. But not just the modules and the videos themselves, but there are also action resources that you can use to actually take action now, because learning isn't useful unless you take action. There's worksheets and challenges to help you along the way. And the most effective part about training will include mentorship. So not only are we going to have live Q&A times, but there's also a private community where you can ask questions directly to me or other parents. Share your wins and your challenges, and know that you're not alone. Okay, so I'm putting together a solution that's going to be $497. And when I do a webinar like this, it's going to be $297 as a discount for joining me in this webinar. But for those that start right away as a founding member, it's going to be $197. So you can join me today and help take your development skills and translate them to making you a successful parent. So who has questions for me today?